Hi guys, today we're going to read The Revolution and Rights by Anne Jackson. Before the American Revolution. In 1754, Great Britain and France went to war over territory that is now the upper Ohio River valley of North America. Both countries claimed the area belonged to them. French and British forces, which included colonists and Iroquois, fought each other for many years. The war finally ended in 1763 with France giving up its land east of the Mississippi River to Britain. Along with Great Britain's victory came problems. A main one was figuring out how to cover the expense of the war that had been fought against the French. To help pay for it, the British government passed tax law called the Stamp Act in 1765. This tax charged colonists a fee for special stamps on newspapers, pamphlets, legal documents, cards, and other official papers. In 1767, new taxes on other goods were passed so that Britain could collect more money from the colonists. The colonists were angry. They did not help to elect the British government. They felt they had no representation and no say in their fate. They thought it was unfair for the British government to make laws for them. Many colonists protested the taxes and refused to buy British goods. In 1773, a group of colonists showed their displeasure by throwing hundreds of chests of tea from a British ship into the Boston harbor. This event became known as the Boston Tea Party. A New Nation. From September to October of 1774, colonial leaders met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in a gathering they called the First Continental Congress. The leaders, which included John Adams, George Washington, and Patrick Henry, discussed how to deal with the British government. Not everyone wanted to risk breaking away from Great Britain. However, Adams and some of the other leaders believed strongly that independence was the only option. On April 19, 1775, 700 British soldiers marched into Lexington, Massachusetts. They found a group of Minutemen and other armed colonists. A shot was fired during the standoff, and after a brief battle, several colonists lay dead or injured. It was the beginning of the American Revolution. Leaders met again for the Second Continental Congress in May 1775. They decided to form the Continental Army. John Adams nominated George Washington to lead the army during the rest of the war. Nearly a year later, in the spring of 1776, the Congress decided the colonies should become free and independent states. Thomas Jefferson, a leader from Virginia, wrote a document explaining why the colonies should be free from Great Britain. That document was the Declaration of Independence. It would be several years before American independence became official. In September of 1783, American and British leaders signed an agreement called the Treaty of Paris. This peace treaty ended the war. It also established the United States of America as a free and independent nation. A new government. The young nation of the United States needed a new national government. The first attempt by members of the Continental Congress was to draft a document called the Articles of Confederation. However, leaders were afraid of creating another powerful government that could take away people's rights and set laws people did not want. As a result, the articles were weak. A new plan for the government was needed. In May of 1787, leaders met again in Philadelphia in what is known today as the Constitutional Convention. On September 17, 1787, leaders signed the United States Constitution. However, it could not become official law until at least 9 of the 13 states ratified or approved it. The Constitution stated that the people ruled the government. It formed 3 separate branches: executive, legislative, and judicial, with different powers that balanced one another. However, it included few individual rights. After the treatment of the British government, some leaders, called anti-federalists, worried that the Constitution did not protect individual rights enough. Federalists, those in favor of the Constitution, worried they wouldn't have the votes needed to ratify the new law. Federalists agreed to add changes called amendments to the Constitution that would protect individual rights. Doing so changed the minds of enough anti-federalists that, in 1788, the Constitution was ratified. The first 10 amendments added to the Constitution in 1791 became known as the Bill of Rights. These rights are freedoms guaranteed to the people of the United States. They include the freedoms of religion, speech, and the press, the right to own and bear arms, and protection from unfair searches. They also give power to the states or the people in cases where the federal government does not have power. Additional amendments have been made since the original Constitution and Bill of Rights were created. Adding an amendment is a big decision. It requires a lot of discussion and thought, and it must be approved by a majority of states during a national vote. The purpose of these individual rights is to make our country stronger and better for the people who call it home. Events before and after the American Revolution, from 1760 to 1790. 1763, French and Indian War ends. 1765, British government passes Stamp Act to raise money to pay for war. 1773, colonists protest new taxes by throwing tea into harbor. 1775, American Revolution begins. 1776, American leaders declare independence. 1783, American Revolution ends. 1787, leaders sign the United States Constitution. 1788, states ratify the United States Constitution. 1791, Bill of Rights added to the United States Constitution.